Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Hogs Happy Hour. I'm your host Blake. As always, I'm joined by Jason and the uh, three-time runner-up Teacher of the Year candidate Ashton. So nice for y'all to join us this evening. Jason, how's it going?
It's going good. Hopefully, Ashton will get over that hump someday and become.
Yeah. I tell you, uh, it's disappointing, but uh, she turned her lesson plans in 5 minutes before I turned mine in. So in all fairness, she deserved it. So
Yeah. All right. For those of you watching out there on Facebook, like and share the stream, and also if you can, send us some stars our way. Uh, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to Four Star Sports Media, and also if you're watching out there on Twitter or X as they call it now, go ahead and share the stream. It helps us more than you know. than you know. Been teaching all day, can't talk. But all right, we'll start with some Arkansas basketball. This past Monday, Arkansas defeated Furman with a score of 97-83. Uh, so Battle, he was our leading scorer again, 25 points. He also had one rebound and one assist. Lawson had 19 points, three rebounds, and three blocks. Brazil finished with 13 points, four rebounds, and two blocks. And Devo was kind of a stat stuffer. He had 7 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and I know Ashton will love to hear this, zero turnovers. So I know Ashton's always tough on him. We finished shooting 60.7% from the field, 42.1% from 3 point, and our free throw percentage, uh, it's scrolling down there on the bottom. It kind of got away from me, but it'll pop up. So we'll start with Ashton. Just your initial thoughts on this game.
I still think that I like the win because considering Furman it was actually picked to win their conference, and I was listening to the radio. Ironically enough, the team that is picked to finish, I guess, second in that conference is none other than UNC Greensboro, who beat us earlier in the year. So to come out and beat Furman is obviously, I think, it's a good win later on in the year when the committee starts looking at strength of schedule. You might look up and see Furman as a conference champ, but then again, you just don't know. But I still think that we're going to need third a third scorer, if you will, someone you can go to outside of Battle. Battle obviously has taken his game to another level here recently. Just seems to make two or three big threes a game. I'm not Battle, but Brazil can be that guy when he wants to be. He can easily take over a game. He is a walking double double every night. And then the third person, who's it going to be? Is Tremont Mark going to come back and you know pick up where he left off? He didn't really play just wonderful the other night, but again, he's getting back into the game speed of things. Um, Devo, I don't know, man. Devo is a stat stuffer, but ultimately, I like to see. I just see so many bad shots from Devo, man. It just drives me crazy whenever he throws up an airball three or he does these little crazy step back. That's just not who he is. He's just, if he's going to shoot, be a spot up shooter. I feel like, or a step back three or something. But or drive, get to the free throw line. But outside of that, Blake and Jason, I was super impressed with, again, for the second time this year, Chandler Lawson. The dude just, I don't know. Sometimes he just rises to the occasion and steps up and has a big game. So shout out to him. What a transfer pickup for us. He's played big for us a few times this year.
Yep. All right, Jason.
I agree. I mean, it was a really good win. Hopefully, by the end of the year, it'll show up as a good win on our resume. Uh, we shot really well. We come out, especially after that half, and played really good in the second half. There were still points at the very end of the game where we did kind of struggle to get the ball over half court. Um, wasn't nearly as bad as the game against Duke. Uh, but how hurt is Trevin Brazil?
Well, they say it's a. Musselman said it's a severe high ankle sprain. So you know, now if you're Trevor Lawrence, you can come back in 3 days from that. But with Brazil, I don't think you want to rush them back right now, especially in the non-conference slate of games we have right now. But
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, we got a big game coming up Saturday against a
Hmm.
good Oklahoma team.
Yep.
We really could have used them there.
Yep. Well, yeah, it was. It's good. Well, actually, it's great to see Mark actually back out there. I know Musselman
Hmm.
said earlier in the week or last week he said he might not play this game, but he did play some. Obviously he's you got to get back up to game speed. So, um, but I will say our defense they held Furman to 38.4% shooting. So held it. Now 3 pointers they were dropping 3 pointers early. They ended up finishing about 38% at shooting threes. But I feel like I don't know what it is, Bud Walton Arena, but teams come in and they're kind of hot when they're shooting the three. I don't know what it is about it, but it seems every team is going to come in and shoot at least 33%. Shooting the three. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Luckily for us, it felt like they could have scored 15 threes the other night, and we still would have beat them. But that will catch up to us.
yeah.
Yeah, we just have not played good 3-point defense. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
all year. And anybody else, I don't know you step into Bud Walton, as you said, and it doesn't matter who we're playing. Somebody catches fire and just can't miss.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that when it comes down to an important part of the season, when you've got to have a big win, that someone doesn't just come out and just light it up against the Hogs.
Yeah.
But kind of early
Yeah.
still to tell, so who knows?
Yeah. A concern I have is this at the end of the game, this press defense that's
Hmm.
being put up against us, and we can't
Yeah,
seem to get the ball. I texted, I think it was Ashton. I might have texted both of y'all about this is going to cost us a game in the SEC. It's going to be a game where we're up by 6 or 7, and we're going to turn the ball over once or twice, and that team's going to come back in.
I will say they did play it better than they did against Duke, but there's still a lot of work they need to work on.
Yep.
yeah, I
Yep.
agree.
And how about Layden Blocker? How great of a find has he been? I will say, people say Arkansas, the state of Arkansas, does not have basketball talent. Okay, he is from the state of Arkansas. Okay, he did go elsewhere for high school for his senior season, but he is a Arkansas kid, and he's going to be a great player.
Yeah, Layden Blocker plays with a lot of energy. He has hit some big free throws this year, and he's made some clutch defensive plays this year. And I think for a kid already, he's already think about who he's played against already as a freshman. Man, he's been put through, thrown straight into the fire. And and I think ultimately, if he and Bay Fall decide to ride it out as Razorbacks, that those two will, in the long run, uh, be pivotal parts for Razorback success for the next 2 to 3 years. So big time having Layden Blocker for sure.
Yep. All right. Any other thoughts before we move on to Oklahoma? Good. All right.
We're good.
I will say I forgot to mention our buddy Dave Shumate. He will join us later in the show. If you were on Twitter when the playoff committee was giving out their selection, he's very animated about reasons why Bama should be in, or this was before they came out about why they should be in over Florida State. So very excited to talk to him. But this Saturday, another big non-conference game for the Hogs. We go to Tulsa, Oklahoma for a neutral site game against the number 19 ranked Oklahoma Sooners. Now this is next year this will be a conference game, so
Yeah.
this kind of be a kind of be a good judge of talent. I know basketball talent can change every year, but it'll be a good judge of what they can bring to the table. They are 8-0. They put it to Providence the other night. Their top wins are they beat Iowa 79-67 and beat USC 72-70. So their schedule's kind of soft right now compared to what Arkansas has played. Arkansas has played a pretty great non-conference schedule so far. So, but we'll be a big test for the Hogs going to Tulsa.
Yeah, I noticed. I guess Randy Rainwater or Rick, one of the two. They made a really great point concerning big programs and how they go about facing other big programs. If you notice what happened this year between Arkansas and Duke is not really normally a common thing. If Arkansas was to schedule a team like Oklahoma, right, and it's not like a SEC Big 12 challenge. I don't think that's what this. It's just a regular non-conference game, right? It's not a part of an SEC. Big 12
challenge. It has a name like was it Cardinal something shootout or something.
Okay, but it's not part of an SEC Big 12 challenge.
No.
So most of the time when you have situations like that, what you'll notice is if a team travels to play another team, they will not travel to play in the home arena of the other team. They'll play a neutral site game, which Duke, of course, had to come to Arkansas this year, but most coaches will not go play a non-conference game at another bigger school's arena. And so I think this is going to play in Tulsa. It feels like a home game for Oklahoma, no doubt. But Arkansas going and playing Oklahoma has 3 dudes who can just get after it. I don't know if he's related to C.J. McCollum from the NBA, but McCollum, who is a transfer from Siena, he's a heck of a ball player. Otega Away for Oklahoma is a heck of a ball player. Uzan from Oklahoma. I mean, they had some dudes who can get after it. But what I noticed, they played Providence the other night, 9 bench points for Oklahoma. And I don't remember how many they scored, but I know they won by like 21. And only 9 of those points they scored, I think it was like 87 points. 9 of that came from the bench. So, depth-wise, who's better? I hope Arkansas is.
All right, before we get to Jason, we have a comment here from our old buddy Josh Cook. He said, "Oh, this is going to be good." Now, funny fact, Josh Cook actually won Teacher of the Year, unlike Coach Wilson here. But all right, so Jason,
we won't talk about what he had to do to win Teacher of the Year. Oh man!
All right, Jason, what's your thoughts on this game?
It's going to be a tough game. I mean, the last few years that we've played Oklahoma at Tulsa, it's been a really close game every year, and I don't expect this year to be any different. I do think our bench is deeper than Oklahoma, so hopefully we can get a lot of good points off the bench. I think when we played against Duke, we had 34 points off the bench.
Mm-hmm. Which a lot of those come from battle. So
yeah. Right.
But I feel like we've played tougher teams. I think we're a little bit more battle tested than Oklahoma is.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'd be a great resume builder if we beat them.
Yeah, I think Cook says Arkansas wins if they make free throws, and I think Josh is right. And I think Josh has watched enough Razorback and sports and loves Razorback sports, and every Razorback fan I hope that watches basketball should know that Arkansas. Yeah, it's great if we make 5 or 6 threes a game, but like our bread and butter is get to the lane, draw a foul, get to the free throw line, and then that will open up the perimeter, right? Hang out on the perimeter. The lane, then you miss some shots, the lane closes. But the more you can get into the lane, draw fouls, that opens up the drive and kick. You get those open threes. So that's what you want ultimately is to kind of like a football game. You run, you suck in the defense, especially if you're being successful. Then you can hit them with a play action pass. So it's essentially the same thing. But yeah, Arkansas definitely has to get to the free throw line to win games.
Yeah, we're let me see, pulling it up. We're shooting as a team 70% right now from the free throw line. So
I feel like we've been shooting free throws better this year than last and previous years.
yeah. Yeah. Another thing I want to see is our big men actually get involved. When they play another dominant big man, against Purdue and against Duke, I'm mainly talking to, Mitchell, Chandler Lawson. He'll show up, but we need Mitchell to be very consistent in order for us if we want to make a deep run into March. I'm not seeing it right now. I know he's coming back from a foot injury that happened over the summer, but he should be healed by now.
He just misses his brother out there.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah. But all right, so this weekend, this Saturday, I think it's at 3 o'clock. I think maybe. But
yeah, it's 3 o'clock. Yeah, on ES.
Yeah.
I want to say it's on ESPN too.
Yeah, so should be a good game. Another thing I was talking to Ashton about, Arkansas can build these leads and then they kind of let them slip away, and then they kind of build it back up. I don't think we're going to see it this weekend against Oklahoma, but I would like to see us get a 14-point lead and then get a 20-point lead at the next time out, and just keep building on top of that lead. Because I always text them when we get a 14-point lead. I said, here it goes, and sure enough, that team usually always, gets it down to 9 to 8
every time.
We get it back up. Another thing we didn't touch on was how about Musselman's technical foul being up by, I think it was up by 15 at that point. Just kind of talk about why you think Musselman felt the need to get that technical foul.
I don't know. I wonder myself, but I think it's been going on all year as far as officiating goes. I just feel maybe I'm being biased, and I very much could be being biased, but Arkansas just does not get the benefit of the doubt most of the time watching us play. I think what Musk saw, I think it was a 3-point shot. Dude kicks out his legs. Referee calls a foul, and I thought it was a ridiculous foul. I think you can almost tell when Musk is about to get a technical foul to the point where he's had. It doesn't even matter if you're up by 1, up by 15, down by 20. He will get a technical foul. And what I thought was ridiculous is I don't have a problem if you're up in my face, right? I'll give you a technical foul. But that referee stood at the scoreboard, stared at Coach Musselman, just stared him down, and then the assistant coaches, Coach Smart and Musselman's son, kind of turned him away. And as he turns away, the referee tees him up. You could see it. You saw it on it. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. So why did he get that technical foul? I mean, I'm not going to question it. He's won more games than I'll ever win as a college coach. But
it's been building throughout the season. It's luckily, it was at a time where it didn't really affect us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, officiating has not been great. It's very inconsistent so far with what we've seen, but that's nothing new. So, all right, so we're gonna move on from basketball. The transfer portal is open for business. It's kind of like an auction house, kind of. These players are some of them are going to the highest bidder. Some of them are going to the place that will give them the most playing time. Some of them are following former head coaches that left. So far, these are the main ones who have left the Hogs: Rocket Sanders, Malik Chavis, Manuel, Chris Paul Jr., Carter, Crook, and Powell. And also one today was Bryce Stevens. If you remember him, I think he was the one that had that punt return against Missouri State last year. Kind of the reason we beat Bobby Petrino when he was at Missouri State. So those have entered so far, and Landon Jackson, Luke Has, Ty Washington, and the great punter Max Fletcher have announced their intention to stay at Arkansas. Cam Little has decided to enter the NFL draft, so good luck to him. Hopefully, I mean, I'm pretty positive he might get drafted as a kicker, which is very, very hard to do. But I think he will get drafted. So now, is there any surprises to any of y'all about these people that have decided to enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, Pooh Paul for sure.
I mean, he's about the only one that's really surprised me.
No, I wasn't too surprised he was going. I don't know if his dad's very outspoken on Twitter, so you can kind of see he was getting frustrated throughout the season. But I'm pretty sure this isn't confirmed that he probably going to Ole Miss, if I'm not mistaken. So Josh Cook chiming in saying he's not surprised at all. I'm assuming so. But now the one announcement that I think we're all waiting for is KJ. You know, last week it was rumored he was going to enter the portal, and it's open and no announcement. So do y'all think KJ will leave, or do y'all think he's truly thinking about staying to learn under Bobby Petrino?
I still leaning towards he's leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's just trying to, wait and see where some of these quarterbacks are entering the portal, where they're ending up at, and what spots are open.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's hurting us actually by not making some announcement. Because as a transfer quarterback, you don't want to go to Arkansas if they have KJ. So they're not going to kind of give us any looks. All right. Now, it was big that Landon Jackson decided to stay. He could have went to the draft. Mel Kiper has him as I think he's in his top 5 of his defensive ends. So it's very good that he decided to stay. Now, the thing with him is, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he could not transfer without penalty. Okay, because he's already used his transfer from LSU to here. So I think he decided to stay, get a little bit stronger, a little bit better, and hopefully get a higher draft pick.
Yeah, I wonder with like Landon Jackson if perhaps he looked at how maybe it would be something special for him to possibly play college football with his own brother if his brother commits to the Razorbacks, for example. So that could be something to consider, or it could be just that he doesn't feel like he's quite ready for the NFL. Either way, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. Someone commented the other day and said it feels like we just got a 6-star recruit, which I fully agree, man. He made a big difference in several games this year, so him coming back is big for us on the defensive line.
All right.
But why have we had so many transfers into the portal on the defensive side versus the offensive side this year?
So that kind of blows my mind. I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if they just didn't click with the coaches. I mean, the coaches were doing a heck of a job. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Part of me, makes you wonder if you're on a defense that's playing its tail off and you're still not winning games. You want to feel like you're accomplishing something, right? That's what I think is when you're out there, and then you saw the last 2, well, not the last 3 games at FIU, but you saw the last 2 SEC games we played. I just saw a fed up defense, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of those guys into the portal because they're just ready for something different. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I mean, if we're sitting here looking at a Razorback team that's 8-4 and kids are entering the portal, I might be like, I don't get it. But 4-8, I can't really say I don't understand. I do understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one Rocket is, I think he's visiting South Carolina this weekend. So you can kind of read between the lines of former coaches that are there and everything. But I mean, watching South Carolina, I don't think their offensive line was any better than Arkansas's. So I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I don't understand that move. That quite honestly.
Yep.
Of course, he's not there yet, but
yeah, he's not there. I mean, it could change. You know, the portal. It could change any second. All right. So we have Dave Shumate. He is joining us from Mach 10 Sports. Dave, how's it going?
Man, what's going on? Nice to see y'all again.
Yeah, we're it's transfer portal season, basketball season, conference play is about to start, basketball, so recruiting season. It's
a
lot of information.
It doesn't stop right now, does it?
No.
Not at all.
All right. We're going to start with the College Football Playoff Committee. I know it's kind of controversial to some outside the SEC, but I think Ashton has a really good question he wants to ask you.
Yeah, Dave. All right. So this is a question I don't want to take too much credit for it. Someone has submitted this question to one of our local radio stations, sports radio station, 103.7. And the question that they ask, because in terms of the committee, is if the committee has chosen to keep FSU out of the playoff because they deem Jordan Travis to be that good, how come Jordan Travis didn't win the Heisman?
I think it's a fair question. Like you said, almost most valuable player. I feel like you could throw Jay Daniels into that as well. But you're right. I mean, on the opposite end of that spectrum, how can you say they weren't good enough to get into the playoffs? Like you said, Jordan Travis doesn't win the Heisman. I mean, I think it's a fair assessment. I think you can definitely make a case for that to be true for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking about that question. The more and more I thought about it, was I can't help but think. Obviously, the committee sat down and looked and said, "Okay, is Tate Rodemaker really good enough to carry FSU to a national championship, or at least to the national championship game?" And then they for sure sat there and thought, "Well, there's no way." And I think his name is Brock Glenn. Which is I don't know if he's a true freshman or a redshirt freshman, but they for sure said there's no way that Glenn leads them to a national championship. So understandably, I honestly, this is from my perspective, I understandably think that FSU should not have been in the playoff. That's my opinion. My opinion don't amount to a hill of beans, but if you're gonna stand on that opinion, then I believe you got to be more consistent with how you view Jordan Travis, because I think ultimately that's how they looked at it. FSU doesn't have Jordan Travis, therefore that they are not capable of winning a playoff game. So let's reward Jordan Travis for who we think he is. But again, that's neither here nor there because they're not in it.
I actually saw that come up from somebody else. I saw somebody else bring that up too. Maybe was it Danny Cannell? Maybe it wouldn't be shocking at this point with Danny Cannell. That would be right up his alley to bring that up. I think it may have been Danny Cannell. Someone else brought up that point that you said you heard on the radio show, which I think there's a case to be made for that for sure. I mean, absolutely. But again, though, I mean, as y'all know, I feel like, tell me if y'all disagree. The quarterback position is the most important position in all sports. I think anybody, except maybe, you had that year, you had obviously Tua and you had Jalen Hurts. There's not many quarterback rooms where there's there was even a drop off from Tua to Jalen Hurts, just a little bit, but everybody's gonna have some massive drop off from their first team guy quarterback to their second team, and I think would affect Jalen Milroe would have torn his ACL kneeling the ball in victory formation the other day. Alabama's going to look a lot different too with Ty Simpson back there. I think you could roll through the rest of the college football playoffs teams as well. Everybody's going to be, just because it's the most important position in sports, because you touch the ball offensively every play, whether you're handing it off or passing. I know it's not some groundbreaking statement. It's just
right.
I think it's true.
That question there from one of our feedback is he better than Jaden Daniels? I go back to the head-to-head matchup, and Jordan Travis got the better between him and Daniels in that game. But overall, is Jordan Travis better? Who do you think is better, Dave?
I think this year, I mean, Jaden Daniels, take away his passing alone, I feel like they had so much success in those slot fades, him and Malik Neighbors and stuff. But also, I mean, he was essentially the running back too back there. I mean, as many yards as he put up on the ground, it's tough to say, is he better? I mean, he's a better athlete than Jordan Travis, but I'd say maybe from an NFL potential standpoint, Jordan Travis could have a bit higher upside. I could agree with that. But better season, I think you got to go Jaden Daniels. I mean, what's LSU's record without Jaden Daniels? They don't beat Arkansas without Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
They don't beat Missouri without Jaden Daniels.
Absolutely.
I mean, again, you could go through every team's record in the country and you say, take away their starting quarterback, what's their record? And it's significantly probably a 3 to 4 game difference.
So with that, I bring up, let's say anyone else in the top 4 start quarterback was hurt in the conference championship game. Would you still put him in, or would you leave him out too?
I got asked that a lot on Saturday night by some buddies because obviously a lot of people had different opinions about this. A lot of people thought Florida State in the Classic, why do we play the games if Florida State doesn't get in? Which, to be honest, I kind of hate that perspective because unless y'all are better than me and y'all can predict who's good without watching the game, it would be an incredible feat. I don't know how we do that. But, yeah, I mean, I think if Jalen Milroe got hurt in that game, you have to have that conversation if you're going to do it for Florida State too. I mean, again, is it the best – it's almost like you got to have the combination. Is it the best 4 teams or most deserving? And honestly, if you're having the best 4-team conversation, I don't know how you pick 4 teams better than Georgia. I know it's getting off topic and you ought to bring that up, but I thought I'd bring that up.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I just
this sounds crazy. I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you were to be honest, the 4 best teams, and this would probably, I don't know how many people on the West Coast watch y'all show. I don't think I get a lot on my show, but is Washington a top 4 team? If you put again, you had to put them in. I'm not saying you had to leave them out, but I think the top 4 teams right now would be Michigan, Texas, Alabama, and Georgia. If you wanted to be honest, and we're playing, and everybody's rolling into it as they went into the championship weekend. I think it's those 4. But again, they're not going to leave 2 Power 5 undefeated teams out. That's just
I was thinking about that.
They had a tough job. Yeah,
I was. I'm gonna be honest with you, Dave. I wanted so badly to leave Washington out of the playoff. I wanted so badly, and I thought to myself, okay. I didn't trust Bo Nix, right? I didn't trust Bo Nix, and then I thought to myself, I'm going to trust him. I'm going to trust him for the conference championship. And it wasn't Bo Nix that let me down either. Really, it was the Oregon defense who couldn't. I felt like Oregon's defense was a screen door and Washington was diarrhea. Okay, all right. Washington was just flooding on through, and there was no stopping them. But I just could not. I want Michael Penix Jr. I think he's when he's healthy. I remember watching him at Indiana beat Ohio State. When he's healthy, man, I struggle to be able to keep Washington out of the playoff in my mind.
Yeah, no, you're right. That 2020 season when he was at Indiana, he had a phenomenal year. Then he was hurt for a bit for 2 years, and then like you said, this year, I mean, I think it's a tougher matchup for Texas than some people want to give it credit for because I think Texas's secondary is going to struggle, and Washington has some NFL receivers, and Penix, if you give him some time, I think could pick them apart. And people are like, well, I mean, the line of scrimmage, which obviously you win games at the line of scrimmage, but Washington doesn't run the ball between the tackles that much. So I don't know how relevant that's actually going to be. But I'm with you. I don't know how you would keep Washington out. And you tell me, I feel like going into that game last Friday, the Pac-12 championship, everyone kind of assumed Oregon would just get their revenge, myself included. Like I picked Oregon to win that game. I took them to cover. Like I think the conversation was more, I feel like even after Oregon lost to them the first game, it was a little bit more, the conversation was, oh, well, if he didn't mess up those 4th down conversions or they converted it, Oregon was the better team. They just lost on the road. Now, they'll get them again in Vegas when they play. And it was assumed. And I think when it happened, everybody was kind of like, all right, so we're gonna have to put Washington in.
Yeah.
You have to. Because I think people were kind of like, a 1-loss Oregon could maybe get left out because their resume wasn't awesome. A 1-loss Pac-12 champion at Oregon. But again, once they won, you couldn't leave Washington out. I mean, can you imagine the backlash if they were just like, "Yep, we're leaving Florida State and Washington out, the 2 undefeated Power 5 champs. We're going to put Alabama and Georgia in."
Yeah. Yeah, and look at how many teams would want at that point. How many teams would want to be joining the SEC? How can I get into the SEC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought the way Alabama didn't look just superly impressive, obviously against Auburn, and then for them to go out and beat Georgia. In my mind, I didn't feel comfortable putting Georgia into the top four. And not saying that Georgia didn't beat some good teams this year. They beat a really good Missouri team. Tennessee was down. Yeah. Kentucky was down. South Carolina was really down. Florida was. The East this year, outside of Missouri and Georgia, just wasn't super impressive.
Yeah. No, so, I agree with that. You had some teams that underachieved. Right? You had the category of like Tennessee and Kentucky. You expected more out of them this year. Or at least I did out of Tennessee. For sure Tennessee and Kentucky.
Right. I did too. Yeah. I did too.
So according to the playoff committee, Florida State without Jordan Travis is better than Georgia.
Yeah. See that I think that's where they messed themselves up. I think people would respect it more a little bit. Like, all right, if you would have put Georgia ahead, or if they even weeks ever since against that North Alabama game where Jordan Travis got hurt, if they would have bumped them back then and was just like, hey, look, like we don't think with their backup quarterback, they're a top 4 team, people would have swallowed that pill easily. I think maybe the first week people were like, what the hell? Everybody's up. But I think with Selection Sunday, Florida State's rolling into the ACC championship game. I think people are kind of like, well, to be fair to the committee, like we may not agree with it, but they did say they're going to use injuries and how teams are at the end of the year. Florida State's with their backup quarterback. They moved them back the minute Jordan Travis went down. It's like, it is what it is. But you magically, like you said, moving them from 4 to 5 the last weekend, and you're still saying, we just think Alabama's better than them because they're playing with their backup quarterback. So it's like you're saying, like you just said, you're saying you think with their backup quarterback, third-string quarterback, they're better than Georgia, though? I think that's where they get people.
Yeah.
I knew Florida State was going to get screwed because of the 16-6 score against Louisville. I honestly think FSU gets in if they just go in and absolutely beat the brakes off of Louisville. If they win by 21 against Louisville, I think they're in.
You're right. If it wasn't some ugly offensive 3-0 game at half, like you're saying, I think if they're impressive, like people always like to bring up the Ohio State Cardell Jones thing, but if you go back and look, they beat the crap out of Wisconsin 59-0. Like with him, and that game was actually impressive. Where it's like, dude, and I get it. They won't be playing with their third-string quarterback. They'll be playing with Rodemaker again. But again, if you tell me it sucks for Florida State, you do feel bad for them. But I think at the same time, that between the combination of the resume and the eye test, I think they got it right as much as they could without just being totally destroyed if they were to leave Washington out.
Yeah, I try to look at this more objectively than I do subjectively. Because we could go, like you said, you have some buddies, you can go round and round all day long with them.
Yeah.
About who got screwed, who didn't get screwed, and what if this would have happened, but here we are, moving forward and for the future. I think the best format, in my opinion, is going to be the 8-team format. Because I don't think you can argue as 9, 10, 11, or 12 if you deserve to be the 8th spot. If you're in the 9th spot, you're in the 9th spot. That's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm with you. I bet it'll be the same 3 to 14. I mean, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I've gotten destroyed on Twitter before this. I like going into every year, there's really only 3 to 4 teams that have a real shot to win the whole thing. I'm not saying make the playoffs, win the whole thing. Yeah. Even TCU is an example last year. And people are like, what do you mean they didn't have a chance to win the national championship? It's like TCU is not going to go win 2 games in that thing last year. They just if Ohio State beat Georgia, Ohio State would have beat the crap out of them. It's nothing against TCU. One of my best friends is over recruiting there. I told him that. He's like, dude, we're kind of lucky Michigan played bad, and like we still barely won. He's like, we'll take it. But again, there's only 3 to 4 teams each year. Like I said going into this year, I thought Penn State was a playoff contender. I didn't think they were a national title contender. I thought they could get into the playoff. I didn't think they could win 2 games in this thing. I think this year, though, you can make an argument 1 through 4. All those teams could win. I mean, if Washington's playing well and their defense is a little better than people think, they get a fair matchup. If they played Michigan, it would be interesting. I think it's all. I mean, they're all every game
matchups. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all matchups. Like I think Texas is a bad matchup for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I think of sports in general is matchups. I remember watching Arkansas play in the tournament last year. UConn was a bad matchup for Arkansas, and they just beat they just beat us to death, really.
Yeah. And I thought, just like I picked Arkansas, you're talking about the NCAA tournament. I picked Arkansas to beat Kansas last year because I thought it'd be a decent. I mean, I assumed Kansas was going to win their 16 seed game, but I thought if Arkansas could get past who they play, Illinois was in the first round.
Yeah, it was Illinois.
If they beat Illinois, it's like I think they'll beat Kansas, and they did. It's like you said, and then UConn was just deep. You're right. It's all sports is about matchup. Baseball, pitching matchups. Like it's all matchup driven. Hell, you could make an argument. Michigan may have. In my opinion, you'd be like, Michigan's the 1 seed, but I'd probably be the most shocked if they won the whole thing.
Yeah. I would be shocked just because of their style of play. You know, I heard someone say the other day is like, does Jim Harbaugh, he likes to play the slow and steady conservative game, but does Jim Harbaugh take more of the deep shots before he has to take the deep shots, or does he wait until it's too late to start taking the deep shots? You know, assuming that they're behind in a game. Michigan doesn't like to play from behind, really. They're slow. They're methodical in how they move down the field. So I'm curious. You got a team that can score quick, score fast. How do you go about moving the football on teams like that? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is one of the more exciting years of the college football playoff because, honest to God, moving forward, I have no idea. I have no clue who walks out winning this thing.
No, I think it's one of the best 4 they've got. It's like you said, you could make a case for all 4 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you really could have winning the thing. I think where it's like you said last year, I think people assume, most people picked TCU to lose in the first round. They won. I think most realistic people assumed they would lose to Georgia. And then the year before that, you had what, Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Where I think everybody was like, Alabama's going to beat Cincinnati. And then what, the year before that, you had what, Notre Dame. No one thought Notre Dame would win any. You're right. This is the first year in a while where I think, but again, if you would have thrown Florida State into that, I think people are kind of like, all right, nice. We get to see Michigan play a backup quarterback at Florida State. Not saying Michigan will be going, because I do think Florida State's defense is really good. So I think they could have kept in the game with Michigan for sure.
Well, I just think
a weird
I think about what Michigan did to Drew Aller this year, who's I think a heck of a quarterback over at Penn State.
Yeah.
And just really shut him down, and then shut down. Kyle McCord had a decent game against him, but we're talking about guys who have played all year long, not guys who have been playing for 2 or 3 games. So I think the committee ultimately did get it right. And I'm gonna catch a lot of crap for that. I think the committee got it right. It just doesn't. It's not fair in the eyes of Florida State fans for sure. And I can understand their arguments, but I think moving forward, I can't wait for the 8-team playoff. That's all I can say about that is until they expand it. We'll see. All
right. Other news is the transfer portal it's open for business, as we said earlier. I think Jason has an interesting question about the transfer portal. If he wants to.
Yeah, just the transfer portal. Do you think that it would be better for it to open up after bowl season's over with and not before?
I like that question, Jason. I'm actually going to kind of address that on my show tonight here at 7. I feel like the calendar, I feel like 2 things here. I'm going to spill the beans here. 2 things here I feel like it have to change in college football just because there's so much going on right now. You got these coaches having players meetings right now. You got them go to all these award shows. If they were a good team, their players are everywhere. They're on the road going to these houses, trying to retain their own roster. They're recruiting their high school kids, getting ready for bowl prep, playoff prep. They got to change the calendar up. There's too much going on at once right now. There's just way too much where no one's productive. I feel like honestly, speaking of you're talking about the portal specifically, I think there needs to be 2 signing days for the transfer portal and the high school, not just one early signing period. I mean, even when I worked in it, I never understood when they made the 2 signing periods, it's like, why did we just put 5 to 6 weeks gap? If you're going to do anything, why wouldn't you do a true early signing period to be before the season? Not saying I'm for that, because I think that's complicated. If a kid gets hurt, he signs, you keep it in, whatever. But I think for the transfer portal specifically, this early signing period on December 20th should be just the transfer portal one, I think. And if you're a high school kid and you want to early enroll, you can still do that like the old days. Like when you still early enroll, you probably won't have the big celebration because you'll be in college when they announce it in February. But just I think if you did the transfer portal early, everyone could make better decisions down the road. The teams, the schools, the players can make better roster decisions because all that clear air from the transfer portal would be done. You're like, all right, we really know where we sit. We can be honest with these high school kids. And then the high school kids can make, all right, I see they took this kid or that kid. and then they can make a better decision for themselves. Like, hey, do I need to go here? Nah, they just took 2 more receivers out of the portal. I'm probably not going to play here for 2 years. I need to go wherever that may be. It may help me, or vice versa. Just make the high school signing day early. And then in the portal win in February, I just think you need to change it, or not even February, maybe January. I just think you do it all at once. There's just so much going on right now.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, Dave, Arkansas has a guy coming. And by the way, Tusk Talk with Todd just dropped his comment. Appreciate you tuning in, buddy. I like your show. His show, he has a great show that I watch quite often. But
Awesome.
So we have Taylor Green coming in this week from Boise State. And what bothers me, you made the point, is Arkansas has no idea at this point, or at least his fans don't have a clue. Is KJ Jefferson staying at Arkansas, or is he leaving? I think it would make so much more sense for there to be a period where you got to make a decision to help the school out. And yeah, you go recruit these high school kids, and they say, well, hey, it's if you go to a quarterback and they say, well, who's your quarterbacks on? Who you're going to have in the quarterback room there, and they go, you look at a kid and go, I don't know. I mean, how do you give them a straight answer, because you really don't know who's going to be in the quarterback room or the running back room or whatever position. It doesn't really matter, but they're going to have to come up with a better way moving forward. And then I think it's kind of crazy, even before the portal opens, how all these kids say, I'm transferring. Man, there's just got to be a better way to do this, because it's free. It's the free agency at this point.
Yeah, it's free. It's the only sport in the world that there's no contract base behind it. It's like, no other sport in the world can you go be a free agent every year.
Yeah,
Lane Kiffin says some funny stuff, but he's usually usually a calculated guy. He always brings up good points from this standpoint. It's like, we're the only sport in the world where it's free agency. Quinshon Judkins has them by the what. Every day he's still got 2 more transfers. Technically, he's still got his one time and his grad transfer, which again, I think they should do away with one of them. You should get 1 transfer, no matter what happens, whether it's your grad transfer or what. That's a conversation for another day. But Quinshon Judkins has them by the what, because he could go in there and be like, yeah, coach, I know you offered me $800,000 today, but I'm going to come back tomorrow and ask for 900, or, like Alabama or Auburn or LSU will pay me that. It's like a never ending thing. It's like Lane Kiffin's like, I deal with it every day because this kid comes up. Not Quinshon doesn't do that, or sure, that's happened a little bit with him, but it's like a kid could come in every day and threaten to leave. It's like, you don't match that. All right, LSU will match it. I'm out. It's like, dude, are you either with us or not? Like, at some point, it's just dangling the carrot over these teams sometimes.
So there's something I thought about today, and I don't know how this works. So if a kid's let's say he's a senior, and he's done, and he says, okay, well, I'm going to sit out the bowl game. The school year is not over. So if you have sat out the bowl game, you have essentially you've quit. You quit the team, and by all standards, you've quit the team. You're done playing. Why is the university still obligated to pay out your football scholarship if you're not willing to play?
Has there been an instance yet where somebody, I'm asking too, has there been an instance yet where anybody has said they're not playing in the bowl game but came back to that team the next year, just essentially being like, you know what, this bowl game's pointless. I'm coming back next year. I'm just not risking injury playing in this bowl game.
I don't know. I don't think there has. Don't quote me on that, but
that would be bad. I think that would be bad for the sport.
I think we're going to see it this year with Caleb Williams.
You think he's coming back?
Yeah, I think he's going to come back.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He did say he wasn't playing in this bowl game.
Yeah, he didn't say he's entering the draft. He just said he's not playing.
Yeah, and I see. You make Lane Kiffin makes a great point. Why don't we have contract? I see NBA games all the time where players will get fined or coaches will get fined because they hear all these fans pay tickets to watch these guys play, and they say, okay, they're not playing tonight. They don't announce they're not playing tonight. They just say they're not playing tonight for rest, but the game's already started. They're not playing. So I do bowl mania. I pick bowl games just for fun, right? And I ain't got a freaking clue who's playing and who's not playing in bowl games.
Yeah, bowl games are tougher to predict than ever. You almost might as well go back. It's almost like a bet. Your best bet's to almost bet on the team with no coaching change and runs the ball predominantly, and because I feel like that travels. They may lose still, but I mean, it's consistent.
Yeah, I thought I saw somewhere. I don't know how many quarterbacks were in the transfer portal, but I think it was approaching 100 or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like I saw something today, like Power 5. There were like 70 Power 5 quarterbacks in there. I mean, hell, Vanderbilt's got 3 quarterbacks from the same team in the portal.
Well, Dave. In all fairness, we're talking about Vanderbilt, okay? I hate to say about Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, they're an SEC school and they're definitely needed. But yeah, I just can't imagine you're rebuilding your team at multiple positions every single year. Now this, the portal is what it is. It
is.
Like
Ole Miss is
but
a prime example. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it helps teams like Arkansas, but it hurts us.
And I feel like Ole Miss is 1 for 2 in it right now. Last year they took a bunch of portal kids. They started off 7-0 and lost 5 of the last 6 if you include the bowl game. It kind of faltered out on them at the end of the year. This year they took a whole new crop of guys in the secondary from the portal. It ended up working out for them. So I think it's always just kind of. I mean, you look at a big portal heavy team like Florida State. They were good this year, but then you also a couple of years ago saw Michigan State. They struggled with a bunch of portal kids. It'll be interesting here. That I think you got to give it another year or two to really have a good, enough data, a good case study to really judge the portal. But I mean, I think any realistic person will tell you got to feel. I mean, it's like with the NFL. I mean, you need to draft your homegrown guys, develop them within your system, and it's tough to do that now as much as coaching changes goes on. These kids not being patient and wanting to be developed. But I think you also got to filter. You need to do that, but then you got to go fill in some of those holes, like maybe a tackle spot, depth spot with portal. But at places like Ole Miss and like a place like Arkansas, where you're not going to go out talent people off high school talent alone for what you get, you're probably going to be a little more portal heavy. That's probably your little bit of an advantage you can have over some of these other schools.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, Dave, it's a pleasure for you to join us. You can follow Dave at Mach 10 Sports on X and YouTube. He has great insight. He puts on a great show as well, especially with SEC basketball coming up. So everyone that's listening out there, please tune in.
Y'all feel good about the Hogs against the Sooners this weekend?
I do, just because I looked at Oklahoma's schedule, and it's kind of soft compared to what Arkansas has gone through. But I think I'm in the minority.
Man, I sweat out every Arkansas game in November, December, and January. So I don't know how I feel.
Yeah.
Ask me in March when Musk kicks it in. Ask me in March, okay?
Yeah. I'll be back. Yeah, y'all. I'll come on anytime. I always enjoy getting on y'all's show. It's always a good talk to be able to chop it up.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, Dave.
Again, and Dave Shumate, Mach 10 Sports. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Let's just cut him off.
Wow, way to hang up on it, Blake. Jeez.
Well, he'll be he's got a show to get ready for, all right? He's a busy man. In fact, he has a 3-week-old, I think. So he's
we gotta find a way to get Ty from Tusk Talk on here with us. That dude is hilarious, man.
Yes, he is. If y'all don't subscribe to him, you need to, okay? It will help you out. It will increase your life, I promise.
Jason, I think Dave was excited to talk about your transfer portal question, man.
Yeah. You gave him something to talk about on his show. So.
Well, yeah. Well, he was already going to talk about it. I kind of stole it from him, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so let's kind of talk a little bit about the portal here. Arkansas will have some visits this weekend. We do know of the Boise State quarterback. He's supposed to be in town. I'm sure there's others that we do not know about just yet. But here's my thing. I wish we would quit getting or looking at Division II or FCS or Montana State, anybody like that. I wish we would go after, maybe, somebody from the SEC, like kind of what Ole Miss. Ole Miss is getting our top linebacker. I mean, but we're getting a tight end that's caught 5 catches for 20 yards or something from Denmark. I mean, I don't understand what we're doing. I really don't. Now again, we don't make the millions of dollars like everyone else does, but I feel like you might want to go after some Power 5 transfer portal people. And I I mean, we tried last year with those receivers, Tesla and Armstrong. I mean, they were okay. I mean, it's a step up in competition. But the Enos offense kind of handcuffed everybody, so we really don't know what their full potential is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think Andrew Armstrong, obviously, of all of them, performed the best, and I think he had a few good, big catches in bigger games. But like Todd talked about on his show yesterday, is when you look at a quarterback like Taylor Green, right, coming in from Boise State. I know he's a big guy. I know that he's got a big arm. But if you look at his PFF, I think that's the percentages. He struggles with the intermediate pass. Who does that sound like? He can throw a decent deep ball. Who does that sound like? And he runs the ball. Who does that sound like?
Brandon
Allen. Yeah, Brandon Allen. But we're looking at a guy who had 11 passing touchdowns, 9 interceptions last year. I look at this. I look at who we're going after offensively as a quarterback. I know who makes sense. I know who I'd like to have, and that is Chandler Rogers out of North Texas. I feel like he would make sense, and the receiver over there with him would make sense as well, coming with him if everything worked out. But I don't know if Taylor Green comes in and remember, Blake and Jason, we're talking about Sam Pittman. What does he have to do? He has to save his job, if you will. Is Taylor Green going to save Sam Pittman's job?
Yeah, I don't know, Jason. Who do you think Criswell is going to work well in Petrino's offense, or do we need to go after another quarterback?
I mean, I believe he will do good in the Petrino offense.
Yeah. See.
But with that, though, I do have to head out.
Okay.
Wife's fixing to leave for a meeting, and I gotta go pick up the kid.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll
I'll see y'all next week.
All right, man.
All right.
Be good.
We'll try and finish the show. It's gonna be hard. But I think that I think Criswell is going to be good for Petrino's offense. I just think they're trying to bring in some competition. That's mainly who they're going after, I think.
Maybe so.
But all right, so recruiting news. They are still out recruiting. I know Bobby Petrino was in my area of the state this past Friday. He visited a receiver from Pine Bluff, Crutchfield. So I think the visit went well again. And also, you know who else was in Pine Bluff?
Who?
Lane Kiffin.
Huh.
So Lane's probably after him as well. I also know Lane he was in Fayetteville, supposedly to talk to Chris Paul himself. So, and then I know today Lane's in South Carolina. You can only imagine who he's talking to. Juice, probably. I'm just guessing. But so it sounds like Lane Kiffin's trying to get all the top SEC players that are in the portal. Unlike Arkansas, we're trying to go after some projects, Division II, Montana State, tight ends from Denmark. That's who Arkansas's after.
Yeah, I don't understand. Maybe things change as the portal season goes on, but I mean, I'm taking my chances. If the financial situation is as good as Coach Pittman says it is, I'm throwing money at whoever. I'm trying to get some studs in here. I've got to turn a program around after a very, very disappointing season that really not many Razorback fans saw. Actually, I would say the majority of Razorback fans did not see this coming. And I'm not going to say everybody didn't. Apparently, I drank the Kool-Aid and went back for another glass.
Well, who really drank the Kool-Aid was me. I said we're going to win 9 games this year.
Shoot, I said 8-4.
I mean, far from that.
Why would you? I'm dyslexic. I meant 4-8. Unreal.
But Also, we haven't even mentioned we did hire our offensive line coach. He went to Mississippi State to be their offensive line coach, and we've hired. I'm probably going to mispronounce his name. Mateos.
Matos,
from
yeah.
yeah from Baylor. He's been at BYU. He was also a grad assistant here at Arkansas when Pittman was here under
Bielema.
Bielema, I believe. Yeah. So he has Arkansas ties. He's got quite a few guys in the NFL. But talking to some Baylor people, they treated him like we treated Cody Kennedy, where Kennedy was good 1 year and then the following year he was not very good. So Baylor, Baylor fans were happy to see him go, but we are glad to pick him up, and he seems to be excited to be back at Arkansas.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
We'll see how
Yeah,
I know this.
Yeah.
Arkansas in the rankings was 126. I think it was 126 offensive line rankings, and Baylor was 106.
Yeah.
So I mean, well, we moved up 20 spots, but
yeah. So yeah, hopefully he can bring some dudes in here who want to play linemen. Don't really we've offered a bunch of people in the portal, too much to name, but they're getting offers from everybody. So that's the problem with the transfer portal. If you're a Power 5 guy who's got some playing time, you're going to have some offers. So again, it all comes down to recruiting. So we'll see how good Petrino, Pittman, Mateos, all them, how good they can recruit on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, if you're listening live or if you're listening to the recording, you can always leave a comment. We usually try to get back to them, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook. We check it. So if you have a question that you want us to answer that was not answered live, just leave a comment there. Again, thanks for those that are watching. Thanks for Tuss Talk for joining us. Thanks for Dave Shumate from Mach 10 Sports. Thanks for him for joining us. Go
and
check out Dave tonight at 7.
Our buddy Josh Cook.
Yeah, shout out to Josh Cook and for all those comments and questions. He's if you ever watch Theo Vaughn, that's who Josh Cook is. So exactly. I swear they're related somewhere down the line. But
that was my cousin, man. That's my cousin.
But yeah. Make sure you share, like, tell your friends, everybody. We should have some transfer portal news next week. Surely it'll start. Some guys will start deciding schools this weekend. This Sunday is going to be a busy time because they're making these visits, and they'll probably start making decisions soon of their new school. So, anyways, for 4 Star Sports Media, I'm Blake. That's Ashton. You have been watching the Hogs Happy Hour.